Hey guys, tonight we're climbing misty mountains, chasing a mysterious monkey, and, if you're lucky, maybe nibbling on a glowing peach that's older than recorded time. You're stepping into the dreamlike folds of an ancient Chinese myth tonight, where immortality is just a fruit away, and clouds have a tendency to whisper directions if you listen closely. Spoiler alert, if you were actually born into this world, you'd probably be carrying water up 88 steps with a bamboo pole balanced across your shoulders. So let's be glad you're the dream version of you, wrapped in silk and somehow immune to blisters. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it over there? I love knowing who's sleepily wandering through time with me. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake in the folds of a misty mountain, one so tall it tickles the bellies of passing clouds. The air is cool and damp, thick with the scent of pine needles, wet stone, and something just a little ancient. Your feet are already bare, and the stone beneath them is slick but warm, as if the mountain itself has opinions about comfort. You squint upward through veils of vapor, and far, far above, you see a sliver of sunlight curling like incense smoke around the peak. That's where you're headed. No one told you this, but the mountain is sacred. One of those peaks where the air gets thinner and the thoughts get louder. Where people go to lose their names and sometimes find new ones. The trail isn't marked. Of course not. Instead, you follow the sound of wind chimes that shouldn't exist and the faint scent of something floral and toasted, like peach skins and warm books. Your first few steps are cautious, a little creaky. But then, the trail seems to welcome you. The rocks shift subtly to guide your path. Moss cushions your toes. The mist parts only just enough to show you where not to step. Halfway up the first incline, you find a pine cone that seems to hum. You try not to overthink it. The trees here grow sideways, not sickly, just defiant, like they've made peace with gravity and chosen attitude instead. You pass a small pool, perfectly round and still. There are koi inside, even though the water's no bigger than a dinner plate. One of them glances at you, and you get the odd feeling it could recite poetry if it had a reason to. Further along, carved into a rock, you see the character for stillness. It hasn't been painted, it's grown there, in a mossy, calligraphic pattern so perfect it's hard to believe it's not staged. The moss curves like a brushstroke, curling at the edges with soft discipline. Just beyond it, a bird with no wings hops across your path. It gives you a look that says you're behind schedule and scampers off up the mountain. You don't follow the bird, mostly because you've just realized something strange. The air here doesn't feel like air. It feels like memory. Every breath tastes a little nostalgic, like your favorite day, bottled and chilled. You inhale, and suddenly you're remembering peaches you've never eaten, songs you've never heard, and naps you definitely didn't take but wish you had. It's not unpleasant, just a little suspicious. You keep climbing. Soon the trees thin out, and the trail curves into a spiral staircase carved directly into the mountain. The stone steps are etched with faint patterns, stars, waves, and tiny monkeys chasing one another in a loop. You squint closer. One of the monkeys isn't carved, he's real. And he's watching you. His fur is golden, his eyes too bright, and he's holding something in his tiny hands that looks suspiciously like a peach pit. Before you can say anything clever like hello or please don't curse me, he blinks and vanishes. Poof, into mist. But the scent of peaches lingers. Naturally, you follow, because why wouldn't you? The path becomes more unpredictable, sometimes solid, sometimes a ribbon of cloud you hope will hold your weight. You tread lightly. With each step, you feel lighter, not just physically, but emotionally, like someone's gently wringing the noise out of your mind. You're not sure how much time passes. Up here, the sun doesn't move like it's supposed to. It pulses gently in place, changing shape now and then like it's considering a rebrand. At one point, you pause at a ledge where a stone bowl catches dew. You sip from it because it seems polite and it tastes like clean laughter. You didn't know water could do that. Eventually, the path narrows to a final stretch, a slim shelf of rock leading into a grove surrounded by swirling clouds. You step through the mist and into a clearing. Silent, sacred, and entirely filled with peaches. You're not at the top of the mountain yet, but you're close. Close enough that the air smells like stories and the wind carries secrets in a dialect you almost understand. The peach trees are short, twisted, and heavy with fruit that glows faintly like candlelight in a fog. You don't touch anything yet, because something's coming, or someone. A whisper rustles the leaves. A giggle echoes from nowhere and everywhere. Then, from behind a tree, the golden monkey reappears. He waves and drops a whole peach at your feet. You look at it, then at him. He winks and dashes off again, further into the grove. Naturally, again you follow, because at this point not following would be unthinkable. The monkey is faster than he has any right to be. One moment he's scampering across a tree limb with the grace of a dancer. The next, he's somersaulting into the mist like a soft breeze just scooped him up for fun. You chase, but gently, because, let's be honest, you're not built for acrobatics today. He waits for you occasionally, perched on a branch or crouched beside a stone. Each time he flashes a grin that clearly says, "I'm letting you win." Then he darts off again, a blur of gold and mischief. The orchard stretches wider than it looked from outside. Each tree is gnarled and strange, their trunks twisted like they're giggling through the centuries. The peaches hang low, so low in fact that a slight breeze could knock one into your arms. And some of them do. You pass one particularly ancient-looking tree that seems to hum. A peach swings gently in the breeze, brushing your shoulder like a friend saying, "Hey, you dropped this several lifetimes ago." You ignore it for now. You're still chasing a monkey. The air is thick with the smell of ripe fruit and old sunlight. Every breath tastes like summer and daydreams. Somewhere nearby, bees drone in slow, lazy spirals. Not the threatening kind, more like background singers. You finally spot the monkey sitting cross-legged beneath the largest peach tree in the grove. He's peeling a peach with surprising finesse for someone without thumbs. As you approach, he gestures to the ground beside him without looking up. An invitation. You sit. The ground is soft, mossy, and somehow cooler than the air. The monkey hands you half of his peach, then tilts his head, waiting to see what you'll do. You take a bite, and pause. It doesn't taste like peach. It tastes like the first moment you ever felt safe, like laughter echoing in an empty room, like the sound of someone remembering your name after a long time apart. You blink. "This is odd." The monkey nods, then mimics your expression, eyebrows raised, mouth shaped like a surprised O. You laugh. He seems pleased with himself. Then, as if tired of playing games, he begins to speak, not with words, but through images, feelings, and gestures that bloom inside your mind like unfolding silk. He tells you his name isn't really his name, that he was born from stone and sky and once punched the heavens on a dare. That he's lived more lives than the trees in this orchard have blossoms, and that immortality, contrary to popular belief, is not all it's cracked up to be. You nod slowly, still chewing your peach, which now tastes like moonlight on a lake. "Why me?" you ask, though your voice is quieter than usual. The monkey shrugs, then taps your forehead gently with one finger. "Because you're curious," the gesture says, "and you showed up." He points upward. Beyond the orchard, you now see a glimmering path leading further up the mountain. It's made of floating lotus petals, apparently unaware of gravity's usual opinions. "That way?" The monkey nods, but he doesn't follow. Instead, he reaches into the folds of his robe. Wait, did he have a robe before? And pulls out a small satchel. He hands it to you with both hands, reverently. Inside, one seed. Just a seed. No note, no instructions. "What is it?" He mimics planting it, then waiting, then smiling. Classic cryptic myth guide behavior. You tuck it into your sash. The monkey leans back against the tree, yawns with theatrical flair, and curls into a ball. Apparently, he's done for now. You rise, the satchel warm against your side. The air has changed again, cooler, duskier. Crickets begin to murmur, and somewhere a flute plays a tune that might be centuries old or freshly invented. You step lightly across the grass, toward the path of floating petals. Behind you, the monkey snores softly, but with purpose. You wonder, briefly, how many travelers he's led here. If he's always been part of the story, or if he simply chose to be this time. Historians still debate whether the monkey in these old myths was meant to be a hero, a warning, or just a cosmic prankster who got lucky with marketing. You decide, maybe he's all three. As you step onto the petal path, They ripple slightly beneath your feet but hold firm. The scent of peaches fades, replaced by something lighter, like sandalwood and fresh linen. The orchard drifts behind you, wrapped in a golden haze, and up ahead, the mountain awaits. Stillness above, secrets below. And somewhere, just out of sight, the next part of your myth unfolds, gently, steadily, like a scroll unraveling in slow motion. The petals beneath your feet are cool and surprisingly springy, like stepping across a path made from firm clouds or very committed marshmallows. They float in the air, just inches above the slope of the mountain, gently undulating with your weight. Not enough to alarm, just enough to remind you that gravity is feeling generous today. The orchard falls away behind you, its scent fading into memory. Now the air smells faintly of ink, jasmine, and the kind of rain that hasn't happened yet. It's quiet, but not empty. You hear the whisper of wind against pine bark far below, the occasional chirp of a bold cricket, and once a long, sleepy yawn from somewhere in the sky. As you climb, your thoughts begin to soften. Not slow, just plush, like they've swapped their usual sharp corners for something more nap-friendly. Then, just ahead, the petals guide you through an arched bamboo gate wrapped in vines. And there it is, the orchard beyond time, a second orchard, but not like the first. These trees don't look rooted in soil, exactly. They hover ever so slightly above the ground, their trunks glowing faintly as if lit from within. The leaves shimmer in shades of silver and lavender, rustling without wind. The peaches hanging from them don't glow. They pulse gently, like heartbeats. You step between the trees and realize that time isn't behaving normally here. Every blink feels stretched, like your mind is operating in syrup. Birds swoop overhead, but their wings flap at half speed. A squirrel freezes mid-leap, then continues in slow motion mid-air before fading into mist entirely. You reach out toward one of the peaches. It draws nearer, by itself. No tugging, no picking, just a polite offer. You hesitate, then accept. The peach is warm, not hot, just body temperature, which is oddly intimate for a fruit. It fits perfectly in your hand, like it was grown for you. You take a breath and sniff it. Now that's confusing, because it smells like an old book you loved as a child. Not a specific one, just the memory of being read to. You don't bite it, not yet. Something in you says, wait. Instead, you wander through the orchard. Time bends oddly around you. The shadows shift backwards. Leaves fall upward. Somewhere in the distance, you swear you see a version of yourself from 3 minutes ago, still debating whether or not to sit under that tree. The seed the monkey gave you twitches in your pouch. Not aggressively, just a soft reminder that it exists. Eventually, you come to a glade where the trees open into a circle. In the center, on a platform made of smooth jade and soft moss, stands a table set for tea. No chairs. But that makes sense. You're in a myth. You step forward, and then she appears. She doesn't walk. She drifts, like mist with opinions. She's tall, serene, with hair like ink and robes made of embroidered smoke. Her hands are delicate, but there's strength in them. The kind of strength that can pluck moonlight like a thread and tie it into a bow. Without a word, she gestures for you to sit on a cushion that didn't exist a moment ago. You do. She pours tea. You don't see the pot or the source. The tea simply arrives, pale blue, faintly glowing, and steaming gently in a porcelain cup decorated with a painting of a rabbit on the moon. You raise your eyebrow. She smiles. You sip, and your eyelids flutter. Because suddenly, you remember a dream you forgot 10 years ago. One where you were flying above a canyon made of feathers. One where everything was slow and perfect and smelled like clean sheets in spring. She speaks, finally. You've entered the orchard that doesn't age. Her voice is soft but layered, like 2 or 3 people speaking in harmony. You nod, because frankly, arguing with a time-warping tea hostess seems unwise. These peaches ripen not with sun, she continues, but with understanding. To eat one is to taste what you need, not what you want. You glance at the peach still in your hand. Not ready? You ask. She nods. Almost. When it stops pulsing, you may begin. You watch the fruit. It's subtle but there, the faint rhythm, like a quiet heartbeat. You look back to her. Do many come here? Fewer than you'd guess. Most stop at the first orchard. Their curiosity ends at sweetness. Yours went further. You feel proud and also slightly called out. You finish your tea. It doesn't empty. It just becomes full of another kind of tea. This one tastes like forgiven mistakes. She gestures toward the edge of the glade. There's more to see, but remember, when the peach stills, do not wait. That moment is yours alone. You nod. She dissolves into mist. Your cushion vanishes. You're standing again. The jade path before you curls upward, toward a grove of lanterns and drifting scrolls. But your fingers, they're still wrapped gently around the peach. You hold it closer, still pulsing. But slower now. Almost ready. You walk slowly, half hypnotized by the subtle pulse of the peach in your hand. It's steadier now, like it's syncing with your breath, or maybe your thoughts. The air around you grows quieter, as if every branch, every stone is holding its breath too. As you leave the glowing orchard behind, the path transforms. The jade fades into worn stone steps, and soft wind chimes whisper just ahead. They don't dangle from anything, just suspended midair, swaying to a breeze you can't feel but somehow hear. You pass beneath an arch of carved stone shaped like clouds. The characters etched into the surface shimmer faintly as you move beneath them. You don't know what they say, but they feel like a polite reminder. Stay curious, but don't get cocky. Ahead lies another clearing. This one is smaller, more intimate, encircled by peach trees that hum ever so slightly. Not a song, more like the sound of the world thinking. In the center of the grove stands a table made of dark lacquered wood, aged and smooth, like it was sanded by centuries of stories. On the table, a single peach. This one's different, larger, deeper in color. Its skin has veins of glowing gold and its stem curls upward like it's trying to escape. It sits on a cushion of silk as though it's royalty, or radioactive. The monkey appears again. Just poof, right behind the peach, like a magician with good comedic timing. He raises an eyebrow, points to your peach, then to the one on the table. Comparison? Challenge? You look down. The peach in your hand still pulses. The one on the table? Completely still. Ah, yours isn't ready. The monkey nods as if pleased with your observation. He sits cross-legged beside the table and begins to peel the still peach with surprising tenderness. The skin comes off in a spiral, revealing flesh that glows faintly like candlelight seen through silk. He takes a bite, pauses, and then his eyes roll back in his head like he's just remembered every good nap he's ever taken. He offers you the next bite. You hesitate. I already have one, you say softly, lifting your own. He grins, nods approvingly, and munches the rest himself. Suddenly, he burps loudly, and a cloud of glitter floats out of his mouth, forming into tiny paper birds that fly in lazy circles before vanishing into the sky. You raise an eyebrow. He winks, then gestures for you to sit beside him. You do. Together, you watch the wind move through the orchard. It feels like hours pass, or minutes, or some new unit of time that's softer, rounder, and not too concerned with numbers. Finally, the monkey speaks, this time in words. Quiet, raspy, like he's not used to using his voice for anything but laughter. They say the first peach was a gift from the stars, he murmurs. Not a fruit, but a promise. You glance at your peach, still pulsing. Very faintly now. Promise of what? You ask. He shrugs. Depends who eats it. You want to ask more, but your eyelids feel heavy. Not from tiredness, just the gentle weight of stillness settling in your bones. He continues, once a sage ate one and dreamed for 100 years, woke up with answers to questions no one had asked yet. And someone else? A general ate one and forgot every battle he'd ever won, decided to become a poet, was terrible at it, much happier. You smile? Anyone ever eat two? He grins wide. Only once. He turned into a plum tree, don't ask. You both laugh. It echoes oddly, like the orchard finds your amusement quaint. The monkey leans back, stretching. Truth is, no two peaches taste the same. No two fates unfold the same way. Is it really immortality? You ask. He pauses, then shakes his head. Not in the way people think, not endless life, just a life that reaches its edge without regret. You fall into thought. The peach in your hand has gone quiet. No more pulse. Just stillness. You look at it, glows faintly now, like it's exhaling. The monkey notices. He bows his head. Not in reverence, in respect. You lift the peach to your lips, but don't bite yet. Any last advice? You whisper. He thinks, then says, chew slowly. Some moments deserve to last. You nod. The air grows warmer, crickets louder, sky deeper. You take a bite. The flavor is impossible. It doesn't hit your tongue so much as bloom across your mind. Like opening a window in a room you forgot was stuffy. It tastes like the relief of finally understanding something you felt your whole life but never had words for. It tastes like the exact second you forgave yourself for something no one knew about. You chew, slowly. The monkey doesn't speak, neither do the trees. The orchard simply watches. You take another bite, and everything softens. The edges of the world blur. Your thoughts grow translucent. Even your doubts seem sleepy, and as the last bite melts on your tongue, you realize you're not sure if you're lighter now, or just more real. You stay seated long after the peach is gone, the quiet wrapping around you like a favorite blanket from a lifetime ago. Your fingers curl around the empty pit, still warm, still faintly glowing. It feels like a memory in physical form, smooth, round, and gently impossible. The monkey doesn't say anything, he just gives you a nod. Not one of goodbye, but more like, you're different now. Good luck figuring that out. Then he hops onto a low branch, curls his tail around it, and dozes off midair, balancing perfectly as only a myth can. You rise slowly, your limbs feel unhurried, as if every part of you has just returned from a very polite spa appointment hosted by ancient magic and soft wind. The forest path ahead is changed again. This time, it's lined with paper lanterns, hundreds of them, floating just above the ground, flickering gently with a soft blue glow. They don't lead straight up the mountain anymore. They meander. As if the journey now prefers leisure to destination, you follow. As you walk, the trees thin out, the lanterns grow brighter. The ground transitions into polished stone, etched with swirling patterns that seem to move if you look too long. Up ahead, a round, open doorway carved into a hillside, framed with bronze vines. It doesn't lead to a room, it leads to a tea house, carved entirely from a single slab of pale jade. Inside, it smells like steam and sandalwood. Soft plucking of a guzheng drifts through the air, playing a tune that makes your eyelashes feel heavier than usual. A woman in deep blue robes glides across the floor carrying a teapot that seems to generate its own fog. She smiles at you as if you've been expected for years. "Welcome," she says. "You've arrived just in time." You glance around. There are no other guests. "Time for what?" She tilts her head. "To sit, of course. You've eaten the peach, haven't you?" You nod. She pours tea into a cup so thin you're amazed it doesn't dissolve in your hands. The tea is golden, fragrant, familiar and unfamiliar all at once. You take a sip. It tastes like the silence after a good conversation. The woman sits across from you. "You're on the fourth path now," she says. You pause. "There are paths?" She laughs softly. "Of course. The path of power, the path of wisdom, the path of peace, and the fourth, less popular but far more curious." You raise an eyebrow. "What's it called?" "The path of remembering." You lean back, letting that settle. "Remembering what?" "Exactly." You smile despite yourself. The walls of the tea house shimmer. The lanterns outside pulse slowly, like sleeping fireflies. Somewhere behind you, the soft shuffling of pages being turned drifts through the wall. "Where am I now?" you ask. She pours herself tea but doesn't drink it. You're in the library of forgotten winds. A gust of air tickles your neck, one that seems to carry whispers in a dozen languages. You turn. An entire wall of the tea house has vanished, revealing a vast open chamber lined with scrolls, parchments, and bound books that float just off the ground, swaying as if breathing. Each one emits a soft, pulsing light. She stands. "They're all here," she murmurs. "Every wind that was ever bottled in a story, every breath someone held too long, every truth whispered and then forgotten." You step closer. One of the scrolls drifts toward you. It unfurls just enough to show a single line of ink. "The day you learned to wait without fear." You shiver. Not from cold, from recognition. You turn another scroll. "The dream where you forgave someone who hadn't apologized." Another. "The morning you realized you didn't need to be anyone else." You look at her. "These are my memories." She nods. "The ones you forgot on purpose." You feel it then, that quiet ache in your chest. The gentle kind, like you've been missing something subtle for a very long time. "Why now?" you ask. "Because you were finally quiet enough to listen." A scroll brushes your cheek. You catch it gently. It smells like peaches and pages. Inside, the monkey never really left. He's just pretending to sleep. You laugh. A small, honest laugh that surprises even you. The woman smiles. "Keep going," she says, gesturing toward a hallway that wasn't there before, lined with silk curtains and drifting candlelight. You step toward it, scroll still in hand, tea still warm in your chest. The hallway curves, and just before it vanishes behind you, you hear the monkey snort in his sleep. The hallway narrows, but not in a way that feels confining. More like the world is leaning in to whisper something. The silk curtains on either side breathe gently, pulled and released by a breeze that doesn't seem to exist. The candles floating overhead flicker like they're trying not to laugh. Your steps are slow, not because you're cautious, but because everything here deserves to be savored. Even the floor feels deliberate. Smooth stone that retains just enough warmth to remind you that you're still tethered to something real. The scroll you carry continues to glow softly in your hand. Not hot, just present. Like it has things it wants to say, but it's polite enough to wait for the right moment. Eventually, the corridor spills into a round chamber. You pause, because you've never seen anything quite like this. The walls are lined with shelves that spiral upward. No ladders, no stairs, just a gentle current of air that seems to lift the books to wherever they're needed. Parchment flutters, ink glows, and somewhere in the upper reaches, a raven writes in a ledger using one claw and holds a cup of tea in the other. Directly in the center of the room, a single pedestal. And on that pedestal, a scroll unlike any other. It's tightly bound with a red silk ribbon, sealed with wax that bears the imprint of a peach pit. It pulses once, softly, when you approach. You feel a twinge of recognition, like this belongs to you, but not you. A version of you from some other timeline, or perhaps one you haven't become yet. You reach out, the ribbon unties itself, the scroll unfurls, and suddenly you're not in the library anymore. You're floating, not in the sky, in a memory, not your own exactly, but one that welcomes you in like an old friend. You see a courtyard bathed in moonlight. A child sits cross-legged, listening intently as an elder with silver eyebrows recounts a story about a monkey who tricked the gods, stole the stars, and once argued with a mountain for 3 hours. The child laughs, the elder winks, the moon sighs. You're not just watching, you're feeling it. The warmth of shared story, the tickle of grass, the way the night air smells like plum wine and charcoal. The scene dissolves, replaced by another. A scribe hunched over parchment, candle nearly out, scribbling frantically as if racing the sunrise. His ink is made from crushed petals. He's transcribing a dream he's not sure he had. His hands shake, but his heart is calm. You hover behind him. He turns mid-sentence and mouths something. You can't hear it, but you understand. He says, "Don't forget to remember." You blink. You're back in the chamber, the scroll now blank, but heavier in your hands. The monkey's voice, now fully awake and at full sarcasm, drifts in from behind one of the shelves. Memory is tricky stuff. Makes a better home than a map. You glance upward. He's lounging across 2 bookshelves like a very hairy hammock. He sips from a cup of something that steams and sparkles. You ask, "What was that?" "Just a little rewind," he says. "The library's full of them. Forgotten winds, remember?" You nod slowly, the scroll still warm against your palms. "Was that real?" The monkey grins. "What is real, anyway? You tasted it, didn't you?" You think, that laugh, that ink, that moonlight, real enough. The monkey yawns, stretches, and somersaults down from the shelves. He lands with the grace of someone who's done this 12,000 times and once got a standing ovation from a room full of thunderclouds. He taps the scroll. "Keep that. Just don't try to use it to time travel. Too many paperwork problems." You raise an eyebrow. "Time travel?" He waves a paw. "Kidding. Sort of. Maybe." He starts walking toward another archway, carved into the far wall and framed with jade leaves. You follow. As you pass under the arch, the air changes again. It's cooler now, quieter. The sound of wind returns, this time gentler, curling around you like a scarf made of breath. The scroll in your hand has stopped glowing, but in your chest, a warm hum remains. Not loud, not proud, just present. And as the monkey skips ahead, occasionally cartwheeling for no reason other than joy, you realize you're not lost. You're just remembering your way forward. The archway delivers you into a landscape that feels more like a painting than a place. It's dawn, or maybe dusk, somewhere in between. The sky above swirls with soft purples and buttery golds, as if someone spilled a watercolor tray and just let it happen. You're standing at the edge of a vast lake, so still, so perfectly smooth, it looks like glass pretending to be water. Not a single ripple mars its surface. The only sign that it's even real is the reflection. Your own, the monkeys, the clouds drifting above, and wait, there's someone else. Across the lake, seated in a tiny boat that wasn't there a second ago, is an old man in silk robes. He holds a long fishing pole, but the line does not dip into the water but into the sky, because of course, why wouldn't it? The monkey stops beside you and whispers, "That's the fisherman of thoughts." You blink. "Of what?" "Thoughts," he repeats. "Loose ones, the kind that drifts off mid-sentence." He catches them and gives them a home. You watch as the old man reels something in. He examines it, an idea maybe, then releases it gently back into the air. He never speaks, just fishes. The monkey hops down to the lake's edge, skips a stone, and it bounces across the sky's reflection like it's skipping across the stars. Each skip rings like a tiny bell. You try. Your stone plunks straight through. The monkey snickers. "That one's staying down," he mutters. You sit on a flat rock, the air thick with that early morning calm. The kind that says, "Let's not start the day just yet." A lotus bloom floats past you, then another. Then a whole parade, drifting slowly across the water without a breeze in sight. You breathe in. The lake smells like wet silk, old stories, and something that might be jasmine or might be the color blue. The monkey climbs into a tree that appears out of nowhere and begins peeling a fruit that's definitely not a peach. It peels in square segments and hums softly to itself. "Why are we here?" you ask. "To let it settle," the monkey says. "Your memory, the peach, the scroll, all of it." You glance down at your scroll. The once glowing paper is now a soft gray, its surface warm to the touch. "Will it fade?" The monkey shrugs. "All things do. That's the point." Across the lake, the fisherman reels in something and this time keeps it. He sets it in a jar that glows faintly, then sets the jar adrift on the water. It floats toward you. You stand, drawn forward without knowing why. The jar reaches the shore and stops neatly at your feet. Inside, a single character drawn in shimmering ink. You don't recognize the script, but the feeling it gives you is unmistakable. Belonging. The monkey peers over your shoulder. "That one followed you in here." Been waiting a while. You pick up the jar. It's lighter than you expect. You hold it close. Somehow, it smells like clean sheets on a rainy day. "What do I do with it?" He shrugs again. "Carry it until you don't need to." Typical. You tuck it into your sash next to the scroll. The lake begins to shimmer, the reflection distorts, and then, gently, the fisherman stands in his boat and bows to you. One slow, graceful arc. You bow back without thinking. The boat disappears in a blink. No splash, no sound, just gone. The monkey hops down beside you. He doesn't say much, he remarks, but he likes you. You smile. "Most people never see him," the monkey continues, "because they never sit still long enough." You both turn to look out over the lake one last time. The lotus blooms continue their procession. The water glows faintly with the soft colors of not quite day. And for a long, luxurious moment, nothing happens, and it's perfect. Then the monkey claps his hands and says, "All right, you've been tranquil enough. Time for something weird." You raise an eyebrow. He points toward a path that wasn't there a second ago, lined with glowing mushrooms and softly laughing wind. "Next stop," he says, grinning, "is where the stories go after they're told." You sigh in that happy, resigned way of someone who has long since stopped pretending to understand the rules. And you follow, because of course you do. The path of glowing mushrooms giggles underfoot. Yes, giggles. Not in a creepy way, more like a group of very polite toddlers who just discovered peekaboo. Each step you take lights up the next, a soft ripple of bioluminescence curling forward like the world is guiding you one gentle laugh at a time. The monkey skips ahead with the energy of someone who's had too much tea and not enough supervision. He cartwheels once, then runs his fingers along the mossy wall of a tree trunk, leaving behind a trail of shimmering calligraphy that fades as quickly as it appears. You follow, not because you know where this is going, but because at this point, not following the giggling path feels rude. The trees close in slightly, their branches arching overhead in a canopy of velvet greens and ink-dark purples. Tiny firefly-like motes drift through the air, slow and syrupy, like they're floating in a dream. They occasionally bump into one another and fizzle with soft laughter. Ahead, the path opens into a clearing filled with shelves. Not normal shelves. These sway, twist, and lean at odd angles, stacked with items that seem impossible. A sandal missing its twin. A glass bead that changes color based on your thoughts. A teacup that refills when you sigh near it. This the monkey announces, arms wide, is the archive of afterwards. You blink. The what? He gestures proudly. It's where stories go once they've been told. Not the big stories, mind you. Not the ones etched into stone or paraded in textbooks. These are the quiet ones. The moments between the myths. The whispers. He points at a jar labeled, "The Laugh That Followed the Hero's Speech." You look around. There's so much. Notes scribbled on bark. Umbrellas that only open under moonlight. A single spoon engraved with the words, "Don't stir yet." You wander between the shelves, each item sparking a strange sense of déjà vu. Like maybe, just maybe, you've been part of these stories before. The monkey hops onto a ladder that doesn't seem attached to anything and pulls down a dusty scroll sealed with wax shaped like a question mark. He hands it to you. Yours. You hesitate. What is it? He shrugs. You wrote it, a while ago, before you were born. You blink at him. That's not how writing works. Tell that to the scroll, he says, grinning. You break the seal. The scroll unrolls itself with the drama of a theater curtain. Inside, a single sentence. You paused, and the world kept spinning without needing you to fix it. You swallow. That's familiar. You tuck the scroll gently into your sleeve. Behind you, the shelves hum softly, a song of paper and passing time. The monkey claps. Right? You ready to meet the librarian? There's a librarian? There's always a librarian, he says, as if this is the most obvious truth in the universe. You follow him around a corner, past a shelf labeled Stories That Changed Nothing and Still Mattered. And there she is. The librarian. Not what you expected. She's not stern, not ancient, not even particularly tall. She's barefoot, sipping something from a chipped mug, and wearing a robe that changes color every time she blinks. Her hair floats slightly, as if underwater. She hums a song that feels like forgetting what you were worried about. She sees you, smiles, and says, "Finally." "Finally?" "You're the last footnote," she replies, as if that clears everything up. You glance at the monkey. He's nodding sagely, like, yes, of course, you're the last footnote. We've all been expecting this since chapter 2. The librarian gestures to a small bench beside her desk. You sit. She pulls a drawer from mid-air and hands you a paper crane made of silk. This is your transition token. Transition to what? Reflection, she says, as if that's the name of a place, not a process. You hold the crane. It warms in your palm, then flutters gently, once, twice, and goes still. When it's time, she says softly, let it fly. You nod, though you still don't understand. But that's the thing with stories. Sometimes understanding ruins the magic. She offers you the mug. You sip. It tastes like the exact middle of a good book, and for a moment, that's enough. You sit with the librarian for what feels like a long time, or maybe no time at all. Time here is polite enough not to interrupt. The air smells like parchment, old tea leaves, and something like distant thunder muffled by layers of velvet. The monkey is off somewhere, tinkering with a globe that spins upside down and shows cities that don't quite exist. Yet, the librarian smiles gently as you study your silk paper crane. Don't worry, she says. It always knows when to fly. You nod. Sort of. She taps her fingers on the edge of her desk, creating a rhythm like rain on an old roof. You've done well to get this far, she says, then adds, most people turn back at the peach. You blink. Why? It asks too much, she replies. To slow down, to listen, to feel. You glance toward the shelves again, so many quiet artifacts of almost forgotten stories. A tiny bell labeled, "The Laugh That Didn't Make It Into the Legend." A single slipper, etched with "She ran before the clock struck." The librarian follows your gaze. This place holds echoes, she murmurs. Not the thunder of history, but its whispers. You like that. Whispers. She pulls out another drawer, this one humming softly, and produces a small mirror. Oval, worn around the edges. She hands it to you without a word. You look into it. At first it's just your face, illuminated by candlelight and a dozen floating motes of memory. But slowly, shapes begin to form. Not from the outside. From you. Moments you hadn't thought about in years or ever. A memory of climbing a tree with knees skinned and a belly full of laughter. A night you stayed awake because you were too excited to sleep. A conversation with someone you forgot you missed. And in each of those, something appears. The peach, tucked in your pocket, resting on a table. Glimpsed in the corner of your eye, like it was always there, waiting to be remembered. You lower the mirror. It feels heavier now. The librarian's voice is soft, Every story you've ever lived is still living in you. You look at her, even the ones I forgot, especially those. You exhale, deeply. The kind of exhale that makes room in your ribs again. The monkey returns, now wearing spectacles and pretending to be scholarly. He bows dramatically to the librarian. We're due at the pavilion of misremembered endings. She nods. Take the west door. You turn. There is no west door, until there is. A sliding panel reveals a moonlit corridor with tiles that shift colors based on where you step. The walls hum low, like monks in mid-nap. The librarian presses something into your hand. A thread. Gold, shimmering faintly. For when you feel lost, she says. You thank her. She doesn't respond, just returns to her drawer, pulling out what looks suspiciously like a seashell filled with laughter. You step through the west door. The monkey walks beside you, quiet for once. Eventually he says, most people don't get the thread. She must like you. You smile. She likes all of us, he adds, but some people forget to like themselves. You roll the thread between your fingers. It's warm. Not metaphorically. Literally, like it's holding a small fire inside. You reach the end of the corridor. It opens into something you didn't expect. A wide, grassy field under a sky filled with drifting lanterns, each one tethered to the ground by a single silk ribbon. Each lantern glows with a different color. Each ribbon is tied to a memory someone didn't finish. The monkey grins. Welcome to the pavilion of misremembered endings. You step into the field. The grass sighs under your feet. The lanterns don't float away. They wait. Patiently, each one flickers as you pass, almost like it's asking mine. Are you mine? You pause beside one labeled, the story I stopped telling because I thought no one was listening. You reach out. It glows a little brighter, then fades. You step on. The monkey gestures ahead. In the distance, a small pavilion glows with soft orange light. Tea? He offers. Always, you reply. The lanterns don't follow, but they don't disappear either. They remain, waiting, because some stories end quietly, and some just pause until someone cares enough to finish them. The pavilion is made entirely of wood that doesn't creak. Not because it's new, but because it's at peace. Every beam and pillar feels like it knows its purpose and is absolutely unbothered about it. Inside, low cushions form a half circle around a gently steaming teapot that's been pouring itself for the last few minutes. You're not sure how long. It doesn't matter. The monkey flops onto a cushion and gestures to another one with a dramatic flourish. You sit. A cup floats toward you and settles in your hands, warm and fragrant. It smells like sleep and something almost cinnamon, but with a hint of mountain wind. The tea here doesn't just taste good. It feels right. Like you've finally taken the breath you didn't know you were holding. The monkey takes a long slurp and sighs. This is where endings come to stretch their legs. You tilt your head. Stretch their legs? He nods. Most endings are too stiff. Rushed, squished into conclusions and moral takeaways. They need a little unwinding. You sip your tea. The flavor changes halfway down the cup. Not dramatically, just subtly. Like a conversation shifting into something more meaningful. Outside, the lanterns sway in rhythm with a breeze you can't feel. Their ribbons dance just enough to suggest they remember the stories they're tied to. The monkey stands, stretches, and begins pacing slowly around the pavilion. Have you ever thought, he says, about how we always ask for the moral of a story, but never the nap afterward? You chuckle. I'd take the nap. Exactly, he points at you. This whole place, this whole journey, is the nap afterward. You've been through myths, riddles, memory scrolls, whispering libraries, and a lake that probably isn't water. You earned a very complicated nap. You lie back against the cushion, letting the tea soak into your bones. It doesn't spill. Magic like this is respectful. High above, the sky has shifted again. It now twinkles with constellations you don't recognize, forming shapes like a yawning cat, a spoon tangled in a ribbon, and somehow your own face with a surprised expression. The monkey lies down beside you and sighs. Even the stars here are nosy. You smile at the sky. Is this really the end? He shrugs. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how you define end. You close your eyes. The breeze, which again may or may not exist, carries the faint sound of someone humming. Could be the librarian. Could be the moon. You hear footsteps, not urgent but present. You open one eye. A small creature walks into the pavilion. Round, soft, and wearing a tiny vest. It carries a tray with 2 new cups of tea. Sets it down, nods at both of you. Exits with purpose, like this was its one important task for the week. Who was that? No one knows, the monkey whispers. He just shows up with tea. Doesn't even have a name. We call him Gerald. You sip Gerald's tea. It tastes like the part of a dream you remember perfectly until you try to explain it. You exhale slowly. What now? You ask. The monkey looks at the scroll in your sash, then the jar with the glowing character, then the thread. Now, he says. You decide. You blink at him. Decide what? He smiles. Whether to stay a little longer in the story or let it go and carry the quiet with you. The air stills. You look out at the field of lanterns, at the stars above, at the empty teacup you now hold with both hands. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. Carrying the quiet doesn't mean being alone. You look back at the monkey. I think, you say slowly, I'd like to stay. Just a little longer. He nods once, then curls into a ball and immediately begins snoring in what can only be described as contented jazz tempo. The cup in your hand warms again, just slightly. Not because it's refilling, but because the story hasn't finished napping either. And neither have you. The pavilion slowly darkens, not because night has fallen, but because the story around you is taking a breath. You lie back into the cushion, eyes open just enough to watch the shadows do their slow, elegant waltz along the beams above. They're not menacing. They're soft, like sleepy cats stretching across warm wood. You're not asleep, not quite awake, just hovering in that perfect in-between space where nothing needs to happen. The monkey, still curled into a tight ball of dreams and mild mischief, snorts once and murmurs something about jellyfish taxes. You let him be. Outside, the lanterns glow brighter. It's subtle at first. One by one, their flames bloom slightly, like they know someone's paying attention again. Some dip low, as if bowing. Others rise a little higher, whispering to the stars. Then you see it. A new ribbon drifting gently down from the sky. It attaches itself to a small, freshly glowing lantern with no label. That's odd. All the other lanterns had names, titles, half-finished thoughts. This one? Blank. You stand, you walk toward it. The ribbon sways toward your hand, brushing your fingertips like it's asking the lark. Are you ready? You grasp it gently. The lantern flickers, and then, images pour through your mind. Not in a rush, not loud, just like bubbles rising from deep water. You see, a young girl giving away her favorite peach to a stranger with sad eyes, a monkey stealing a star and hiding it in a tree hollow, a forgotten city made of sand and mirrors where nothing casts a shadow, a book bound in silence that only opens if you've recently laughed. All these moments swirl gently, like the lantern is reminding you. These are yours now. They're not lessons, not morals, just yours to carry or leave behind. The monkey appears beside you again. Arms stretched wide, and the universal sign of that nap was too short but also amazing. He squints at your lantern. Ooh, he says, you got a blank one. That's a good sign. You ask, why? He scratches his chin thoughtfully, then flicks a small bug from his shoulder that's shaped like a comma. It means, he says, you're ready to start a new story, one that hasn't been told before. You look down at the ribbon, at the glow. Is it mine to write? Of course, he replies. But don't rush it, let it simmer, like soup or feelings. You nod. You can feel the blankness isn't empty. It's full of maybe, full of not yet. You walk back to the pavilion. This time the cushions are slightly warmer. The air smells faintly of roasted chestnuts and ink. The librarian is there now, seated silently at the edge of the light, sipping tea from a bowl carved from petrified cloud. She says nothing, but her smile says, well done. The monkey hands you a thin brush. No ink. No paper, just the brush. You don't need to ask. You hold it and it begins to hum. Not loudly, not urgently, just enough to say I'm ready when you are. You smile, you place it beside your cup. Not yet, soon. Outside, the lanterns continue to drift. Some rise higher, some fall gently to the grass, but none leave. Not until they're ready. You lie back once more. The story hasn't ended. It's simply resting, just like you. A distant bell chimes, once, twice, its tone soft, like it's been wrapped in wool. The monkey perks up at the sound, ears twitching, tail curling like a question mark. That's our cue, he says, hopping to his feet with the bounce of someone who knows exactly what comes next but refuses to spoil it. You follow him out of the pavilion and into a path lined with paper umbrellas. They're upside down, floating just a few feet off the ground, spinning ever so slightly. Each one is painted with scenes that shift as you walk past. Ink dragons becoming clouds, mountains breathing, rivers curling like ribbon dancers. The monkey plucks one umbrella from midair and hands it to you. For the breeze, he says. There's no breeze. There will be. You take the umbrella. It hums softly in your hand. The path widens again, and suddenly you're at the edge of something vast and barely believable. A harbor. But instead of ships, there are boats made of cloud stuff, wisps of mist shaped like skiffs, gondolas, and one particularly smug-looking swan. A line of them bobs gently, anchored by silken ropes tied to moonlight posts. The monkey gestures to one. That one's yours. You approach. The boat is translucent, soft under your touch, but solid enough to step into. It sways gently beneath your feet, but never tips. The floor smells like rain and eucalyptus. The cushions look like folded fog and feel like daydreams. You settle in. The monkey leaps in beside you and shouts into the nothingness, "Fireflies! Assemble!" At once, dozens, maybe hundreds, of tiny glowing dots swirl from the trees. They gather into a constellation-shaped cluster and begin blinking in rhythm like a pulse. Your boat lifts, not dramatically, just casually, like it's done this 1,000 times and will do it 1,000 more. You rise slowly, drifting over a field of sleepy flowers that turn their petals toward you like fans waving farewell. The air is thick with hush. The monkey leans back and says, "This is called the voyage to the end of want." You blink. "The end of what?" "Want," he repeats, "where needing things goes to nap." You stare ahead. The sky turns a richer indigo. The stars pulse with the rhythm of a calm heartbeat. Everything you thought you needed 5 minutes ago, 5 months ago, feels distant now. Not gone, just smaller. The boat glides forward. Below, you see memories drifting past. A younger version of yourself chasing a kite that didn't fly. A smile you didn't return. A night you stayed quiet when you wished you hadn't. They wave. You wave back. No judgment, no shame, just visits from things you used to carry. The monkey sighs happily. "You're doing great, by the way." You don't respond with words, you just lean back and let the journey carry you. The fireflies begin to hum a tune, a lullaby with no lyrics, only feeling, the kind that makes your spine relax and your mind finally stop racing. You hold the silk crane, the golden thread glows faintly, the scroll rests at your side, all of it, part of you. The boat banks gently left, then right, weaving through pockets of stardust and sleepy gusts of wind that smell like books no one's opened in decades. The monkey points ahead. "There," he whispers. In the distance, a horizon that isn't really a horizon, just a soft edge where story gives way to silence, where noise finally stops needing to prove itself. You exhale, your breath feels slower now, like it's syncing with something ancient and kind. You don't know how long the journey lasts, but you know it's enough. And when the boat finally begins to slow, you aren't afraid, because for once you don't want anything. You just are. The boat glides into what feels like the edge of a sigh. Not a stormy stop, not a dramatic arrival, just stillness. The fireflies scatter, not disappearing, but fanning out into a delicate shimmer across the soft fabric of the sky. They trace lazy loops and occasional spirals, like bored dancers in no hurry to end the show. Your boat settles gently onto a surface that doesn't look like water or land. It's more like a thick fog that agreed to hold you up for a while. Each step you take leaves a footprint of light that vanishes after a few seconds, as if the ground doesn't want to be burdened by memory. The monkey hops down and waits. He's not rushing. No one's rushing. A tall, slim figure approaches from the mist. They wear a robe of woven mist and carry a scroll tucked under one arm and a feather tucked behind one ear. Their eyes are soft, like they've cried all the tears they needed to centuries ago and now cry for others instead. They nod at you. "Welcome," they say, "to the place where things end quietly." The monkey whispers, "We just call it the shh." The figure raises one eyebrow but doesn't object. You're led to a smooth stone table where nothing is written but everything has been read. The scroll they carry is laid out between you, unrolled gently. It contains a map, but not of land or sea. It's a map of wants. Every desire you've ever held, even the silly ones, especially the silly ones. A better pencil, a redo of a second-grade birthday party, a dog that understands sarcasm. Each one drawn in soft ink that glows and fades depending on how important it still is. Some glow bright, others barely flicker, one or two gone entirely. The figure hands you the feather. Not to write, to erase. You choose carefully, you don't rush. With each sweep of the feather, a small pressure lifts from your chest, your spine, your jaw. You don't erase everything, just enough. The monkey pours more tea. Where it came from? No idea, but it tastes like honey, rain, and laughing alone. The figure rolls up the map and hands it to you. You won't need this anymore, they say. You hold it for a moment anyway, then set it beside your crane. The monkey says, well, that's it. You raise an eyebrow. That's what? He smiles, soft now. That's the end of wanting. You tilt your head. I thought there'd be fireworks, a parade, a certificate. Oh no, he replies. That's what the start of wanting looks like. You sit quietly. The stillness settles deeper in your bones. The figure of mist gently vanishes, not in a puff, just by choosing not to be there anymore. You and the monkey walk slowly back toward the boat. It's still there, but now it looks different, lighter, like it's made of the sigh you've been holding in for years and only just released. You climb aboard. No need for a destination. You're just going forward, or maybe inward. The monkey lounges, tail hanging lazily off the side. He hums a tune that sounds suspiciously like a lullaby from the tea shop you forgot about 5 sections ago. The sky dims just slightly and the mist thickens, not with confusion but with comfort. There's nothing ahead that demands you, nothing behind chasing you. Just a space that says, you're allowed to rest now. You grip the golden thread in one hand, not tightly, just enough to feel its warmth. The silk crane is quiet. The scroll is silent. The want is gone. And you're floating with nowhere you need to be. And somehow, everything is already within you. The boat drifts now through a sky of soft gradients, dusky pinks melting into gentle blues, like watercolor dreams bleeding across silk. You recline into the cushion, arms behind your head, eyes half-lidded as the air around you becomes thicker with quiet. The monkey has dozed off again, cradling an invisible pillow and mumbling something about moonfruit. You watch his tail twitch once, twice before going still. Above, a shape forms slowly, a massive tree, suspended upside down from the sky. Its roots dangle like chandelier vines swaying gently with no wind. The leaves glow faintly, each one pulsing in rhythm with something inside you. A shared breath, a mirrored heartbeat. Your boat rises toward it, not in a hurry. Just like everything else, it knows you'll get there eventually. The tree is not solid. It's not exactly real. It's the kind of thing you'd draw in the margin of a notebook when you were supposed to be paying attention. A dreamscape scribble, a shape made more of feeling than structure. Still, your boat finds its way to a platform nestled between 2 vast branches. As you step off, your feet land on bark so soft it feels like walking on memory foam made of clouds. This is the tree of things left unsaid. There are no signs, no instructions, just a small box sitting atop a stump. You approach it curious and open the lid. Inside are folded scraps of paper, hundreds, maybe thousands. Some are fresh, others faded. One smells faintly of cinnamon, another hums when touched. Each one contains a sentence, not written, whispered. You pick one up. I should have told you I loved your laugh. Another. I didn't mean to leave like that. Another still. Thank you for waiting for me, even if I never came back. You close the box gently. The monkey, now awake and watching quietly, says, everyone leaves something behind. This place keeps it safe. You nod. Do I need to leave something? He shrugs. Only if you want. You sit beside the box for a while, thinking, feeling. Finally, you reach into your pocket and find a piece of the scroll, one that tore a little when you hugged it too tight. You whisper into it, just 3 words. Fold it. Place it in the box. The box glows faintly, not like it's proud, more like it understands. The tree pulses once, like a big leafy heartbeat. Your boat returns without being called. You climb in again, no words needed. The monkey curls beside you once more. I like this part, he whispers. What part? The part where you realize you never needed to fix everything. Just notice it, hold it, let it go. You nod, eyes closing. The tree fades behind you as the boat begins its final drift. Your limbs feel heavier, not with burden, but with rest. The stars begin to blur, not because they're leaving, but because your focus is gently, finally slipping away. The final stretch of your journey feels like being tucked in by the universe. Your boat drifts now along a ribbon of mist, soft as breath and slow as a lullaby. You barely feel it moving, but it is. Always onward, like the pause at the end of a sentence that doesn't need a next word. The sky is darker now, but not in a heavy way. It's velvet dark. hug you from the inside dark. Tiny sparks still flicker far above, each one a story left open, waiting for someone, maybe you, to finish it someday. The monkey sits beside you, unusually quiet, no jokes, no riddles, just presence. A shared silence that says, "This was good." Eventually, you reach a shoreline. It isn't land, it's something softer. The kind of place you arrive at not with footsteps, but with exhales. You step off the boat, which immediately begins to dissolve, peacefully, like sugar in warm tea. It was never meant to stay, just to carry. The monkey stays behind. "This part is just for you," he says, voice barely above a whisper. You nod. No need to say goodbye. He'll show up again. Probably in your dreams, probably when you least expect him, probably wearing a ridiculous hat. The shore ahead looks like nothing, and yet everything. Misty hills, trees shaped like ideas you've had but never said aloud, a sky that curves gently, protectively around your thoughts. This is the place where the story doesn't end, not because it's unfinished, but because it's yours now. You walk slowly, each step syncing with your breath. The silk crane flutters once, then tucks itself into your pocket. The golden thread, you tie it loosely around your wrist, not a tether, a reminder. The scroll, you leave it behind. Some things aren't meant to be carried forever. The air smells of old stories and new beginnings. You pass under an arch made of woven starlight, where a soft wind hums a melody only you can hear. And then, you stop, not because you're done, but because stillness is part of the journey too. You lie down. The earth here holds you gently, like it remembers your shape from some other life. Above, a peach tree grows upside down from the sky, dripping fruit that lands soundlessly in the grass, never bruising. One falls beside you. You smile, too tired to eat it. It understands. The stars blink slowly. Your thoughts untangle. And in this moment, this long, quiet, starlit breath of a moment, you finally rest, and now you don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to do anything. Your journey is complete, not because everything's finished, but because it doesn't have to be. The quiet around you isn't empty. It's full of space. Room for your thoughts to drift like leaves on calm water. Room for your breath to slow, deeper now, softer. Feel your arms grow heavy, your hands warm and still. Let your chest rise with a gentle inhale and fall with a long, quiet exhale. The world can wait. Right now it's just you. You and the peace you've made, you and the peach you didn't eat, you and the monkey, wherever he's gone, probably stealing someone's moonlight for tea. Let the hum of the stars settle into your bones. Let the weight of your body sink just a little deeper into wherever you are. You are safe here. You are welcome here. You are enough here. Nothing chases you. Nothing is waiting for you. You've done so well. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Let your mind drift like the boat did, light, slow, carried by stories and stillness. Let go of the day. Let go of the needing. Let yourself simply be. Just for now. Just for tonight. And maybe, just maybe, when you wake again, you'll bring a little of this quiet with you. Until then, sleep deeply, dream gently, and remember, your story is still unfolding, but for now, it's resting with you. Sweet dreams.